Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Cooper's Ghost. I own and operate CRH Customs LLC Custom Gunsmithing in Oak Brook, Illinois. Today we are looking at a client's Colt Detective Special that came in for inspection and cleaning. I've already gone through and cleaned it, greased it, reassembled it, and before I put the final screws and assemblies back together on this thing, I want to show you what I found in it. So we have the side plate, we have the cylinder assembly removed, grips removed, and the two side plate screws. I'm going to show you guys how to correctly and safely remove the side plate without damage. What we're going to do is cover the side plate and the cylinder latch with our thumb, and we're going to tap right there on the frame, and the vibrations are going to cause that side plate to pop right up. You never ever want to pry these things apart. You will scratch the edges of them and burr them up horribly. So here we go, we've got our thumb over the side plate, over the cylinder latch. Let's give it a tap. There you go, you can see that side plate is starting to raise up. Let's give it another one. That's it. Off comes our side plate, lifts right off. There's our cylinder latch. Now this thing was very rusty and dirty. I have since cleaned, greased, and reassembled it. What you're seeing is wear and pitting and patina. The gun is quite clean, I can promise you that. When I clean a gun, it's clean. This is an old Colt. Colt serial number database puts this Detective Special manufacturing date at between 1964 and 1966. So let's go ahead. At this point we can remove the hand right there. It will just lift up out of its pinhole on the trigger. Oh, you know what, I skipped a step already. We're going to remove this mainspring and take the pressure off of the system. So we have an early and late type frame. The late type frame has a leaf spring that can easily be slid out to the side and wiggled right out. These early frame, the mainspring must be compressed with a pair of these turn down pliers. That's the best way to do it. You see these fingers on the mainspring here that wrap around the stud are hardened and quite brittle. If you push the elbow of this spring out and try to wiggle it and twist it around, you risk breaking those fingers. So what we're going to do is get in here, compress the spring about halfway up, and remove it after we swing that latch out from under the mainspring. Okay. So at this point, we'll take the rebound lever out. Should slide right out this pin. It is in there a little bit. That's all it took. Just push it the rest of the way out. It's just sitting on the edge there. There it goes. There's our rebound pin. set that aside with our hand up here. At this point we can take the rebound out, lifting it right out, put it off to the side. At this point we can take our hammer out, and if you haven't noticed anything fucked up right now, I'm going to show you. We'll close in on this guy. And that is the pin that our hammer rotates on. Does it look like our hammer is rotating on that pin? Well, it's not, and that's because that pin is broken. We're going to lift our hammer right up out of the frame, and the pin is going to come with it. And I don't know if you saw that. So here's the pin. Let me put the hammer down real quick. I don't know if you saw this little guy right there came out of its spot where it belongs. We'll take that out, put it aside. Let's remove that pin from the hammer. Pushes right out. We'll put that to the side. Put our hammer to the side. Now at this point we can lift up the rest of the trigger mechanism. This will come straight out. We've got some sticky grease holding these parts together. That helps a lot with disassembly and reassembly. Transfer bar is going to come up right like that. I'm probably not calling that its correct name. Now we have the gutted frame, and it's going to be a little difficult to see this because of the grease. In fact, I'll just wipe off a little bit here. But that's our broken hammer pin right there. I'm going to flip the frame over. You can see that's our hammer pin. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of shifting it around in its hole right now. It is loose. I don't want to punch it right out. And I'm going to explain why. Again, let's see it from the other side. If you guys can see it moving around. Kind of using my fingernails to press it back and forth. So it's in there. These pins are pressed into place at the factory. That's where it broke. That little donut washer that I showed you earlier, that's part of the pin. It sits right there to support the hammer. And then I wonder if the grease will help hold this together. And then our hammer pin, by some miracle, it's standing up on its own. That's what it looks like when it's correctly installed and not broken. Our hammer pivots on that pin. The trigger pin down here, can you see that? The trigger pin right there is pressed into the frame the same way. If you want a better picture, we can open up the Kuhnhausen manual. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. That's a good depiction right there of what a nice, straight, unbroken hammer pin looks like. So let's back out our zoom a little. we'll go to the shop work section of the book, and we are going to turn to page, it's 146, and we have a visual diagram of what it looks like to press that pin back into place. We have a figure removing the pin, and down here we have one pressing it back into place. I'm going to read this little section out loud for you guys. Replace trigger or hammer frame pins. If there is any doubt about the cause of a loose trigger or hammer, always check the questionable trigger and or hammer pin hole against a new replacement frame pin before pressing the existing pin out of the frame. When looseness follows the pin, or when pins are visibly worn, rusty, or undersized, they must be replaced. Remove the frame pin. Install the correct pin removal insert in the frame pin chuck. See figure 188, that's the first picture I showed you. I'll show you again. So this is kind of like, we've got the frame held with the side plate and with the side plate side down against an aluminum fixture block, and we've got, and this is an arbor press, by the way, and it's been modified to accept this collet system of some kind, and that's the pin that they use to drive out the old broken pin. That's figure 188. Place frame on aluminum leveling plate and position on arbor press bed. Press out the frame pin. If pin is resistant, support frame wall with a brass or aluminum reinforcing block. So what they mean by that is to further secure the frame, the bottom of the frame in here. They'll have you put a block in here so that you're not crushing down on the frame as you press that pin out. If pin is resistant, support frame wall with brass or aluminum reinforcing block. That's what we just went over. Always use the frame support block when pressing pins out of alloy frames. Install frame pin. Install the frame pin chuck in the arbor press ram. Then install the correct frame pin in the chuck. Position the frame on an aluminum leveling plate, C189. As we can see here, it is the same plate as the above figure. Coat the frame pin hole and pin with anti-seize compound. Align the frame, start the pin, and press into place. That's all they give you. Let's talk about loose frame pins. We just showed you how loose that pin is in our frame. When frame pin holes are loose, confirm by pressing in a new replacement pin. If pin shank fit is still loose, ship the frame directly to factory service for installation of an oversized or SK trigger or hammer pin. In this way, the correct frame pin centers will be preserved. And that's it. You get one page explaining that work. And then they move on to refacing the ratchet seat and more framework in this book. By the way, Kuhnhausen double action Colt manual is a must if you're looking to professionally work on these things. So here's the deal. I don't have any of these. I have an arbor press. I have access to an arbor press, I should say. It's not mine, and I don't know where it is. But I'm not about to modify one to accept this custom press fixture. I can't acquire those. I tried to find them. Can't find them anywhere. This is something I would definitely have to make. I do not have the tools for this. So what I like to do in these kind of situations is call around some colleagues in the industry and ask who's capable of this kind of thing. Or if they've, there it goes, I just knocked it down. So I called up a very, very reputable pistol and revolver smithing shop. Maybe you've heard of them. It's Cylinder and Slide. I believe they're in Nebraska. Now, if you go to Cylinder and Slide's website and scroll through their services, you're not going to find this. I had to call up the shop and ask directly if those guys had any experience or recommendations for doing that type of work. And the guy gave me kind of a weird laugh. And I'm not taking a knock at Cylinder and Slide here, by the way. I'm just going to tell you like what my experience is with this little conversation we had. So he kind of laughed and said they do have experience, they can do it, they have everything needed. The way they do it is by manufacturing a brand new pin, fitting it to size, trimming it, trimming the length on it. You can see the pin does stick out a little on the side here. And then they press it into place. They estimate 4 hours of labor at $90 an hour. So you do the math on that, and you can probably figure out that you can get a new 38 for that kind of money. If I was to put the time into building these fixtures and these dies, that is probably how much I would charge to do the same amount of work, somewhere close to that. Now, again, I'm not taking a shot at Cylinder and Slide here, but a common practice in this business is to overestimate work that you might not be so excited to complete. I'm not saying that they did that, and I'm not saying that it may not even have taken them the full 4 hours of labor to complete that. I also asked if they would be comfortable with providing me with those fixtures or possibly selling me with those fixtures, and of course, understandably, they said no, I guess. To my knowledge, Cylinder and Slide does not offer armorers courses to learn how to do this kind of stuff, and that's kind of a shame. But it is what it is. I'm not going to learn how to perform that repair on someone else's family heirloom the first time I've ever done it. So, upon explaining all of this to the client, we're just going to assemble it, keep it nice and greased and oily on the inside to prevent any further corrosion, and we'll reassemble and get it back to the client, and that's it. It's going to sit in the safe for probably the rest of its life until it's handed down. The gun will still function. You'll see when we put the side plate on, it will still rotate, it will still lock up, it will still fire, but I wouldn't go around carrying something like this. Don't let anyone tell you that revolvers don't malfunction. In fact, this one, you'll see that this one functions with its broken pin just fine, but how long are you going to trust that if you're carrying around something that you are going to depend on to save your life sometime? Anyway, that's it. That's really all I have to show you guys. Sometimes you have to just know when to tap out and know when you don't know how to do something. There's definitely no way I'm going to learn how to do this on someone else's family heirloom. Maybe if I come across another broken Colt, I'll break it open, and maybe I'll break the pin myself so I can learn how to do it, but not on someone else's gun. That's just part of the business. Sometimes the client is not going to want to put that much money into a repair like this. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys. For the rest of the video, I'll show you reassembly and give you a few tips and pointers on reassembling these guys. We left the bolt and the bolt spring in there. That doesn't need to come out. So let's get it back together. Reassembly is pretty easy on these guys if you know what you're doing, and you have the book to follow along with. Let's get a little more grease in there that I wiped out beforehand so you guys can see a little better. Swirl it around, get it in there. This is the same molybdenum disulfide grease that we use in the AR pins. It's also common to use in double barrel shotguns to preserve springs and camming surfaces. So let's put that away and we'll get the trigger components back in. Oops. Okay, we're going to try to, there we go, we're going to link these little guys together and drop them all in at the same time. And again, the grease is going to kind of help to hold that together. Let's see if we can fit, there we go, right, I should zoom in for a little for you guys. Okay, I think that's fine. Our donut, forget the name of that part. These are part of the safety assemblies, and you can see that donut fits right into that hole there. After this, we can put our trigger and its pin back in place. We want to put the broken end into our hammer. That's the wrong pin. There it is. We'll put that broken pin, that broken end, into the hammer first. And we're just going to lay it on relatively where it's supposed to go. And you guys will see later, everything will kind of self-align here when we put the side plate back on, because that hammer pin also has a recess in the side plate that it fits into. And that's going to kind of hold everything together when it's reassembled. Even though it's broken, you guys are going to see that this thing still works to some degree. Okay, let's get our hand back in. There it is. Oh, let's put the rebound back in. Or, let's see. Go with that. Yeah, let's get the rebound back in. That could stand to have a little more grease on it. This is probably the last time this gun is ever going to be opened up in its lifetime, so we want a good amount of that grease on our parts to prevent corrosion. Just kind of spread it around on there. Oil has a tendency to pool up on one side of the gun or the other and dry up and gum up over time. And this grease will stay in place on the part and do a fantastic job of preventing corrosion as this thing sits for the rest of its life. Okay, let's kind of drop that right into its place. I'll use my punch here to align that hole. Little grease inside the hole is not going to hurt anything on the pin itself. Perfect. Now we can put our hand back in, lift up the rebound. Now, there we go. Now, I'm going to show you a little something here that can really screw up the gun. That rebound arm must sit right there on the hand, and it's possible to assemble this with the hand sticking up, and now the rebound is no longer pressing on the hand. It's difficult for you to see that from there, but I'm going to push that rebound tip back up, and this hand is going to be able to fall to its complete depth in that hole and support the hand, support the rebound. When spring pressure is on the rebound, the trigger will be able to reset, and we have spring pressure on the hand. Okay, here's our mainspring. Can you guys see this? Let's back up for a sec. There we go. Okay, there's our mainspring. We're going to compress it and hook those fingers right onto the hammer strut. It's a little difficult to do with two hands. We'll see if I can do it. Okay, we've got the spring compressed. There it is. We've got those fingers around our strut. We've got it seated, and that's it. Okay, now for side plate installation. Okay, and you guys can see if I... Oh, there it goes. If I flick on that hand, it has spring pressure, but that rebound has a tendency to slip down between the hand, and now there's no spring pressure on it. So I'll take a little punch here and put downward pressure on the hand. If you heard that click, that means it's right. So we have spring pressure there. Let's put the side plate on. Just as much care should be taken to install the side plate as was to remove it. We're going to take our cylinder removal latch, slide it into place. Now, this is going to be difficult because our hammer isn't technically in the correct spot. So this is going to take a little bit of shimmying to get right. You need to make sure that that side plate is absolutely flush with the frame when it's before you tighten down those side plate screws. Otherwise you will bend it, you will ruin the whole gun. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put a little backwards pressure on the cylinder latch so that its hole can clear the side plate and catch that little lug on the frame. At the same time I do that, I'm going to be kind of wiggling the hammer around, and I'm not going to do it now so that the rebound spring stays in place. I'm going to wiggle that hammer around as I hold that cylinder latch so that the hammer pin seats in that hole. And when that hammer pin seats in that hole, you will see this thing go flush where it belongs. Okay, I guess that's a good enough angle for you guys. Let's go. I'm going to hold the gun in my right hand using my thumb to kind of wiggle that hammer in. And I'll use this other thumb to retain the bolt catch. Do not put the side plate in at an angle. It must drop straight in. Do not put it in at an angle. Do not try to pry it back into place. I'm going to sit it down as straight as I can. I'm going to kind of use my index finger or my middle finger to compress that bolt latch. I'm going to wiggle the hammer in. There it is. There it goes. Absolutely flush with the frame. If I hold pressure down on that side plate, the screws would typically do this job. If I hold pressure down on the side plate, you can see that something isn't right. Let's get back in there and see what's going on. I believe the rebound may have come unseated from the hand. There we go. Try that again. There we go. Okay, let's get those screws. back in place. I believe I've got them mixed up. We've got our cylinder retention screw. Get a little bit of grease on that, as well as a little bit of grease in there to help retain that spring in its plunger. A little bit of grease on the plunger itself. If someone has to open this up in the future and possibly do this repair, they're not going to have a hard time opening it. Let's see if I have the correct driver for that. I do. Wipe off some excess grease here. Give it a quick spray with a little preservative. This is a real thin gun oil solvent, Super QCG, cleaner, micro, lubricant, rust inhibitor, moisture dissipator. What are the ingredients on this thing? Petroleum oil and mineral spirits. So it's a pretty simple preservative. I use mineral spirits in my ultrasonic cleaner. So what I like to do is, before I get a gun to a client, I like to put a light coating of this over the whole gun and just wipe it down. Just one last wipe down before we hand it off to the client. I like this stuff. It's not too expensive. It's not too smelly or anything, and it does a good job of inhibiting rust. You can also use it as a light lubricant. And that is it. Other than the Hope grips, I don't really think that you guys need to see this. You do it anyway. Okay, that's our little fixture that goes on the grip. We have our grips over here. And they kind of slide right on into place. Yeah, there they go. Let's see if we can start that screw. And that's our reassembled Detective Special. Greased and ready for the safe. Thanks for watching this one, guys. There's not too much I can do about it. That's just kind of the business. They're not really going to do any other work on this thing other than the clean, inspection, and reassemble. That's just kind of the nature of the business, you guys. It depends on what the client wants, what kind of work the client wants done to it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes and the subs. Thanks for continuing to sub, even though I take months at a time to put out a video or whatever. And that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes and the subs.